but we were in there for 4.5 hours.
No, I was sitting there at 11:30, so I heard you. So I wanted to talk about that because that's actually really important that you said that, because I actually heard President Trump, the very first thing he talked about was energy. That's how he opened it earlier this morning. And he actually said, I wrote it down, he said, we have more energy now than we've ever had. Talk about the importance of where President Trump has taken us now and why this is something that you have to focus on, for not just for, to keep inflation down, but also just for national security purposes.
He just so gets energy. If you want people's lives to be better, you've got to lower the cost of the necessities for their life. That's energy. So you get more supply, you get lower prices. So many jobs. If you want to bring manufacturing and data centers and artificial intelligence to the United States, that's all energy intensive stuff. We don't want those investments going overseas. He wants those investments right here, those jobs for American families right here. So
how's he been able to achieve this?
It is an all-of-government approach. The last 4 years under the Biden administration, they just strangled the development of energy. In fact, I don't know if you heard the statistics I gave. Their plans were to close 100 gigawatts of electricity in the next 5 years and build 22. So a massive shrinkage in our net ability to generate electricity, where this president is do everything you can to stop the closures and accelerate building.
What would have happened if we had gone down the road with the Biden administration?
If we followed the Biden administration policies, China would pull ahead of us, massively ahead of us in artificial intelligence. We wouldn't have reshored manufacturing jobs here, and we would have struggled this summer with blackouts across the country. We used emergency powers in the department to force the keeping open of many gigawatts of power plants, and we were right at the edge of blackouts this summer. Next summer, blackout would have been as common as a baseball game across our country. We just were heading in a catastrophic direction.
Talk about wind and solar power and some of the other alternative energy sources, because that is something he spoke of. I know you've talked about this many times before. Why is it important that we discontinue some of those other alternative energy sources?
The problem of wind and solar is they don't always provide electricity. Like when you turn on the light switch or your kid gets put in an incubator, it's got to work. It's got to be on. The only market is for electricity that's there 24/7. That's what you have to supply. So this belief was we're going to close coal plants and put up a lot of wind turbines and solar panels. They're not equivalent. That makes a grid less stable, blackouts become more common, and costs go up. Because you've got to have the stable electricity supply, the legacy stuff there, and then you've got to add all new transmission lines, new solar farms, new wind turbines all around. And of course, it was all built by both huge subsidies and state mandates that said, thou must have X percent, quote, renewable. There's nothing renewable about wind turbines or solar panels, but that's a great marketing term. But so it was forced on the grid. And we can see in Germany and the United Kingdom where this leads. This leads to very expensive electricity prices and industry fleeing your country or your state in our case. That's just not the America we all want. And President Trump got elected to reverse that dangerous direction, to deindustrialize our country and impoverish our citizens.
Let's talk about AI for a second, because we know we're going to need tons of energy for it. Right now, some of the largest data centers in the world are in Loudoun County, Virginia, Northern Virginia. And there is talk even right now that we don't even have enough energy to supply that, and we could see brownouts in a year. What's your thoughts about that?
We have to build electricity across the country, new generating sources, as fast as we can. Most of the new data center development will not be in Loudoun County, Virginia, where it's historically been, because there isn't a huge amount of extra power available right now, and there's not a lot under construction. There is some. But these data centers are going to be all across the country. There's a giant one in Louisiana, Iowa, Indiana, across the country. And where is it going? It's going to the places where they can get power. It takes 2 years to build the data center. You got to be able to build your power in 2 years as well. So it will be spread across the country much more than data centers have been to date. But of course, Virginia wants to stay a leader in that. And the current governor of Virginia, he's all in, trying to get new nuclear power plants built, new gas plants built. So it's a race. But states that are bureaucratic and that stand in the way of development, they're going to get left behind in the AI race and the reshoring of manufacturing. But states that want to follow President Trump's lead and be aggressive in speeding up permitting and getting stuff under construction and built as fast as we can, those are the states that are going to win.
Let's talk about China and the AI race right now, because what we can't have is China winning that. Talk about the importance of these, of just really having fossil fuel energy so that we can maintain having these centers for AI so that we don't lose to China in the AI race.
Yes, look, our biggest source of electricity in the United States by far is natural gas. Nuclear comes after that and coal comes after that. Those three things represent the backbone of our grid. In China, the order's reversed. Coal is by far their biggest source of electricity. They also have a lot of nuclear, which they're building rapidly. But it's those 24/7 energy sources. That's what AI runs on. It doesn't run intermittently when the sun comes out from behind a cloud or the wind blows. Those are not going to drive AI. But you're so right. Right now, we have a lead in China in artificial intelligence. But if we lose that lead, it's not just an economic loss to our country. It can undermine the integrity of our country. AI will be huge for national defense. If they're ahead of us in AI, they will become the dominant military power. We just can't have a world like that, which is why, thank God, President Trump got elected. Now we're on a trajectory where we can maintain the lead in AI against China, but we're going to have to be 7 days a week leaning in to make that happen.
Very quickly, you spoke about nuclear energy. Why aren't we seeing more of that in America now?
Bureaucracy and fear, and we smothered nuclear over the last few decades. President Trump's had 5 executive orders on nuclear power to drive the reforms we need in our regulatory bodies, in our supply chains, in our permitting processes. We are all in on nuclear. You will see dozens of reactors under construction by the end of next year in the United States. But that is an all-in push to make that happen.
And aren't you going to be using some warheads from Cold War to get plutonium in order to do that?
Well, we may get some materials from overseas, and there is some disassembled weapons. You are right that we have been holding those materials that we will use for fuel in these reactors. We also have programs where we're going to help commercial businesses stand up more uranium enrichment in our country. We let that industry go away as well, but we're going to turn that around. It takes a President Trump to make this happen.